When we think about our breeds of cattle, all of our breeds of cattle will fall in three distinct breed types. The first breed type that we'll talk about will be our British breeds of cattle. In our British breeds of cattle, the most common ones that we'll look at, the ones that we have in Texas, our steer shows will have breeds. Those within the British breed types will include our Angus, Red Angus, Hereford, Polled Hereford, and then finally Shorthorn. The British breeds of cattle are typically a little bit earlier maturing cattle, cattle that will put on condition a little bit earlier. They're typically higher marbling, and they're also noted for their maternal ability. And on average, they will be, from a breed group perspective, they will typically be a little bit lighter muscle, easier fleshing, higher marbling than, per se, if we compared them to our continental group or even our American group.
Our Red Angus breed will mention a few key characteristics. First and foremost, in terms of acceptable breed characteristics, is that they must physically exhibit breed characteristics of the purebred Red Angus breed. Obviously, the color can vary from a light red or all the way to a dark red in color. And then obviously, as we talk about the Red Angus breed, they must be polled. In other words, no horns or no scurs should be permitted in the Red Angus breed. A few absolute disqualifications is in the event that there is any evidence of any dehorning that may occur. That is an absolute disqualification. And then also anything that might indicate that there is some white color from the navel forward would be an absolute disqualification. Also, in the event that there might be a solid white tail, this would be evidence for an absolute disqualification as well. And last and foremost, if there's any evidence or signs of what we might consider being double muscled, that would be an area for an absolute disqualification also. We'll look at a few photos. This particular steer here, you can see he's a heavy bone steer. That's certainly acceptable within the breed, and as you can tell, he is darker red in color, and that's certainly acceptable also. You can notice up around his head, he's a shorter muzzled steer, certainly one that is real well balanced. You can also notice the white switch in his tail, but it does have some bleeding of red color within that, so that's acceptable in this particular breed. This steer here, it is a good example of showing you the different colors of red. This is what we would commonly refer to as a lighter red in color. This steer is certainly acceptable as well in terms of the Red Angus breed. The only thing that we might take a close look, this steer here certainly does have a lower ear set on his ears, up on his head, and that's certainly one issue that might cause a red flag. But as we look at the steer as a whole, he's certainly acceptable also. You might notice his tail switch also has just a little bit of white at the very tip of that, and certainly that's acceptable, as most of the tail switch is predominantly red in color.